Also here this evening is Ken Starr, former independent counsel under President Bill Clinton, a Fox News contributor and the author of Contempt, a memoir of the Clinton investigation. Mr. Starr, good to see you tonight. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Martha.
So the latest from the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Jerome Nadler, is that he is giving Bill Barr a firm date. He said it absolutely, the rest of the full report must be turned over by April the 2nd. And there are other reports today that say that that Mr. Barr, the Attorney General, is not sure that he's going to be able to turn over the entire report. What are your thoughts?
Right. My thoughts are Bill Barr is obligated as the Attorney General to follow the law, not a request or even a demand from the House Judiciary Committee chairman. And the law has been clear forever and a day that grand jury information must be protected. It's confidential, it's secret, and it's potentially a crime for Bill Barr simply to turn over information that may very well be, and likely is, grand jury information. So there's a process. So everyone should just allow the process to work. Bill Barr has reassured everyone that he wants as much transparency as possible, consistent with the law. And I think that's what's going to happen.
You ran an independent investigation. What do you think about the fact that in terms of obstruction of justice, Robert Mueller said he was not able to come to a conclusion, and he left that up to Bill Barr and Rod Rosenstein, who I understand also played a very big role in that decision. Was that a mistake on Mueller's part?
I disagree with that judgment because, Martha, we hired, so to speak, Bob Mueller to do exactly that. To make the decision. And he had that responsibility, and he decided not to live up to that responsibility. There are competing theories as to the why, but the bottom line is he kicked it upstairs, so to speak, to main justice, to the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General. And so from everything that I know, especially as we're talking about things that were in the public domain, the President was not guilty in any respect of obstructing justice. He could fire James Comey, but some people just
I'm sorry to interrupt.
that.
I just want to play James Comey on this because we have some sound I want you to hear and get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Let's play that.
Yeah. I sit down with President Trump. He says, when I decided to just do it, talking about firing you, I said to myself, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. What did you think when you heard that?
I thought that's potentially obstruction of justice, and I hope somebody is going to look at that. Again, the president appears to be saying, what he appears to be saying is, I got rid of this guy to shut down an investigation that threatened me.
What's your reaction to that, Ken?
My reaction is it is so ill-conceived that one could think that firing James Comey somehow ended the investigation. It launched the investigation, and what we now know, I'll be very quick about this, the investigation was not in any way interfered with. We know it was extremely lavish, 19 lawyers, 40 FBI agents and specialists. And there's no suggestion at all, in fact we have contrary suggestions, to the effect that Bob Mueller was able to carry out this investigation without any kind of obstacle or impeding from the Justice Department. So I really think that that approach of Mr. Comey, with all respect, is just absolutely wrong.
So with the question, you know, with regard to whether or not the report needs to be released, you did release the report. And a professor at, I believe it's USC, Oren Kerr, came out with this tweet. He said, imagine if the Starr report had been provided only to President Clinton's Attorney General, Janet Reno, who then read it privately and published a 4-page letter based on her private reading stating her conclusion that President Clinton committed no crimes. And Monica Lewinsky had a reaction to that we have to kind of cover up part of, but you can get the idea. It says, if blank only. What's your reaction to
that? Apples and oranges. As you know, Martha, I was appointed under a statute that required us to report to Congress. Under the regulations under which Bob Mueller was appointed, he is to provide and has provided a confidential report to Bill Barr. Now, everyone should just stay tuned because Bill Barr is going to make the report as transparently available as he possibly can. So this is phase one that's contemplated under the regulations. And Martha, you likewise know these regulations have been in effect for 20 years. So people suddenly have awakened to the fact that the process that the regulations contemplate is exactly the process that Bill Barr is faithfully carrying out.
So you maintain that you had no choice other than to turn over the complete transcript, the complete investigation?
Absolutely. Yeah, the statute required me to report, our investigation to report to the House of Representatives. We did not make it public. We sent the report to Capitol Hill, and it was the House of Representatives that voted, wisely or unwisely, to make the full report available to the American people on the then brand new internet without any review whatsoever, no redactions. And I think what we have now is a much more appropriate process that, for one thing, protects grand jury information.
Ken Starr, as always, thank you very much. Good to see you tonight.
Good to see you, Martha. Thank you.
If the Supreme Court rules that Obamacare is out, we will have a plan that's far better. We are going to be the Republicans, the party of great health care. The Democrats they've let you down.
If the Republican Party wants to be, in Donald Trump's words, the party of health care, God help the middle class. This is the party of health care? This Republican Party? Come on. You can't undo all the health care for tens of millions.
President Trump with another attempt to repeal and replace Obamacare, and Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, saying, bring it on. So let's bring in our panel. Josh Kraushaar is the politics editor for National Journal. National security analyst Morgan Ortagus is with us, and Chris Stirewalt is the political editor here at Fox News. Now, I know that the White House was forced to send some sort of letter to the Court of Appeals on this, but the president had, I think what most people, Josh, say was a victory on Mueller, and now he's fighting health care again?
Yeah, the timing of this couldn't come, and Trump, this is a self-inflicted wound because healthcare is the one issue that's really dogged Republicans. They couldn't get the repeal and replace bill done last year, and it was one of the big issues that Democrats ran on, that they wanted to preserve Obamacare, and it was a big issue that all kinds of Democrats ran on in their victory to win back the House. You know, voters, both Republicans and Democrats, are incrementalists. They're looking at the party that isn't going to disrupt the status quo more. And you had a lot of Democrats that have been talking about single payer, talking about a lot of really radical proposals on the presidential campaign trail. Well, here you have Trump now saying, well, I just want to rip up Obamacare, and I'm going to support this court ruling. So it's you have a lot of congressional Republicans really scratching their heads.
I was going to say there's clearly a split between the president and Democrats, but there's also a split between Republicans. Let's listen to Susan Collins and John Kennedy of Louisiana here.
I'm very disappointed and vehemently opposed to the administration seeking to invalidate the entire Affordable Care Act.
We were promised that if we passed the ACA, it would make health insurance cheaper and more accessible. It's done the exact opposite. I think we should strike it down with vengeance and furious anger.
Doing his impression of Samuel L. Jackson there. So, I mean, if you got a split in the party, how do you try to get anything done?
Well, I guess I disagree a little bit with my esteemed colleague Josh here on this. I don't think Republicans should be running away from health care at all. Much to the chagrin of those of us in cable news, 2018 wasn't about Mueller. 2018 was about health care, and poll after poll, Republican primary voters care about this. And if you're unhappy with your health care, Republicans should remind voters that Obamacare is the law of the land and put it on the table. What is Medicare for All going to do that Obamacare failed to do? How is that a better plan? Make this entire election about federalism versus socialism. And when you do that, that plays into the broader themes. And yes, you do need to have a plan. And it looks like the White House may be potentially considering backing the Representative Bruce Westerman's Fair Care Act. That's on the table, and that looks to be able to expand coverage while significantly reducing health care costs and federal spending. The federal spending bit was the part that many Republicans were worried about in the Graham-Cassidy bill.
Yeah, I was told this morning that they're still backing Graham-Cassidy, so clearly that's changed as
it's
well.
A new day, John.
But we talk about, you know, the president got Obamacare repeal and replace, Chris, through the House when they controlled it. But Kevin McCarthy, according to Axios, told Trump over the phone that the decision made no sense especially after Democrats killed Republicans in the midterms in part over the issue of pre-existing conditions. So why is this another good dog to put back in the fight?
It isn't, but the president feels very strongly, obviously. His ongoing feud with the deceased John McCain, a rather one-sided affair, is connected strongly to John McCain's thumbs down moment. Trump mentions it all the time.
All the time.
When he turned thumbs down on that and killed that, that was the moment. That was a bad moment for Republicans. This is a very good week for Republicans. This is the best week of Donald Trump's presidency. He has gotten the biopsy back, and the answer is no collusion. And this is a great opportunity for them. To dive into this in this way is not politically savvy for one simple reason. Obamacare is popular. It's pretty popular. It's above 50%, and people are generally satisfied. Quinnipiac polling this week was absolutely clear. People want status quo. Don't take away what we've got, and that's exactly what Republicans are talking about.
Lindsey Graham thinks it was the perfect opportunity politically to dive into this. Listen to what he said. Oh, it's a quote. So let's listen to me say what Lindsey Graham was thinking. I look at this as sort of a new election, a fresh start. I've got this behind me now, talking about Mueller. It's a fresh start, so let's see what we can do, starting with health care. Josh?
But John, this is the big difference between 2019 and 2018. Republicans controlled both the House and the Senate. So if the court does, agree with repealing Obamacare, you're not going to have a consensus with a Democratic House in coming up with any kind of replacement. Whereas the Republicans had their chance, and even Lindsey Graham had a proposal, Graham Cassidy, which didn't get enough support within his own caucus. So it is going to be a mess if somehow Obamacare gets repealed.
But nothing is getting passed in the 115th Congress. Let's just make that clear. It doesn't matter what proposals the House Democrats come up with or what the president comes up with. Nothing's getting past this Congress. So this is all about positioning the arguments for 2020. What will be the president's plan and the Democrats' plan? And I guess I just disagree with you guys today. I think Republicans run scared often on health care and on these major issues. And if this president has taught everyone anything for 2 years, it should be not to run.
But one of the big stories out of this support for the district court case in Texas is that there was a real difference of opinion, if you will, behind closed doors at the White House. You had Mick Mulvaney on one side, you had Alex Azar, and you had William Barr on the other side. And apparently it got kind of heated, from time to time when they were discussing this, but the president eventually sided with Mulvaney on this.
And we don't know the degree to which Mulvaney was executing the president's will here. And if Mick Mulvaney, I was skeptical about Mulvaney's ability to last in there as chief of staff. The president hit him with the acting tag, like maybe he's not the real deal. Mulvaney delivered for Trump on a priority of the president's, and if he's going to be that kind of an attack dog inside the cabinet, who knows?
For the record, I always thought Mulvaney was the perfect man for the job. So, and I think they're going to take away the acting pretty soon and make him permanent. We'll see.